Chapter 1. The Horizon Beckons. The ocean was a living thing that night, restless and vast, its surface shimmering under a sky streaked with the last embers of sunset. Isabelle Autissier stood on the deck of her 45-foot sloop, hewn destruers, her fingers tightening around the railing as the wind whispered through the rigging. The year was 1991, and the world beyond the horizon was a blank pageant she was determined to fill with her own story. She had spent months preparing for this moment. The boat, a sturdy but weathered vessel, had been her sanctuary, her laboratory, her only companion in the endless expanse of water. Every rope, every sail, every piece of equipment had been checked, double-checked, and checked again. But the sea did not care for preparation. It demanded respect, and Isabelle had given it that in spades. The Indian Ocean stretched before her, its dark waters rolling like the back of some ancient beast. She had sailed these waters before, but never alone. Never with the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. The first woman to attempt a solo, non-stop circumnavigation via the southern ocean, a feat that had been accomplished by men, but never by a woman. The thought sent a shiver down her spine, but it was not fear. It was the thrill of the unknown, the pull of the horizon. A gust of wind snapped the sails taut, and the boat lurched forward, cutting through the water with a smooth, rhythmic motion. The autopilot hummed softly, its mechanical voice, a quiet reassurance in the vast silence. But Isabelle knew better than to trust it completely. The ocean was unpredictable, and she had learned long ago that the only constant was change. She stepped into the cockpit, her boots thudding against the deck. The radio crackled to life, a distant voice calling out coordinates, a ship reporting its position. For a moment, she was tempted to respond, to break the solitude with human contact. But she resisted. This was her journey, and she would face it alone. The first days at sea were always the hardest. The body adjusted slowly to the rhythm of the waves, the mind to the isolation. Isabelle spent her hours navigating, repairing, watching the horizon. The Indian Ocean was deceptive in its calm. It could lull a sailor into a false sense of security before unleashing its fury. On the third day, the wind shifted, the sky darkened, and the waves grew taller, their crests frothing white. The boat groaned under the strain, its hull creaking as it fought against the elements. Isabelle tightened her grip on the wheel, her muscles burning with effort. The autopilot had failed, and she was on her own. The storm raged around her, a symphony of chaos. Rain lashed her face, stinging like needles. The waves rose like mountains, threatening to swallow the boat whole. But Isabelle did not falter. She had faced storms before, and she would face them again. This was the price of the horizon. As suddenly as it had begun, the storm passed. The wind died down, the waves settled, and the sun emerged, casting a golden glow over the water. Isabelle exhaled, her breath shaky but steady. She had survived, but she knew this was only the beginning. The days blurred together, each one a test of endurance, of will. The ocean tested her in ways she had never imagined. Equipment failed. The radio sputtered and died. The autopilot, already unreliable, gave out completely. But Isabelle adapted. She navigated by the stars, by the sun, by the feel of the wind on her skin. She repaired what she could, improvised with what she had. And then there were the moments of quiet. The moments when the ocean was still and the sky was clear, and the world seemed to hold its breath. In those moments, Isabelle felt a profound connection to something greater than herself. The vastness of the sea, the endless sky humbled her, but it also filled her with a sense of purpose. She thought of the people who had doubted her, the ones who had said, "A woman could not do this," the ones who had whispered that she was reckless, that she was foolish. But the ocean did not care about their opinions. It only cared about survival. And Isabelle was surviving. Weeks turned into months. The Indian Ocean gave way to the Southern Ocean, its waters colder, its storms more violent. The boat shuddered under the onslaught, but Isabelle held firm. She had come too far to turn back now. One night, as she stood at the helm, the radio crackled to life again. A distant voice, faint but clear, called out. A distress signal, a ship in trouble. For a moment, she hesitated. She could turn back, could offer help. But she knew the risks. The storm was too strong, the waters too treacherous. To turn back would be to risk her own life. She made her choice. She pressed on. A voice faded into the static, and the night swallowed it whole. Isabelle exhaled, her heart heavy but resolute. This was her journey, her battle, and she would see it through to the end. As the days passed, the horizon began to change. The Southern Ocean gave way to the Pacific, its waters calmer, its skies brighter. The end was in sight. But the journey was not over yet. Isabelle Autissier had faced the worst the ocean could throw at her. She had survived storms, equipment failures, the crushing weight of isolation, and she had done it alone. The horizon still beckoned, and she would answer its call.